we care about time more than ever. See, we got to remember this. Every one of us has and will only ever have 1,440 minutes a day. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your rank is. It doesn't matter where you live. You get 1,440, period. I'll tell you this. I believe that time is the only resource on this whole planet that we actually share equally. Not water, not food, not space, not love, not safety, none of it except for time. And what we do with that time matters more than ever. Now, in my research, I found an amazing statistic that 2/3 of customers, 2 in 3, say that speed is as important as price. That speed is as important as price. You probably feel that in your own life. I'm sure most of you want things now as opposed to later, but then we question, do we actually run our businesses as if this data were true? If you give customers time, they will give you money. But if you cost customers time, it will cost you money. You've heard the phrase, time is money. That phrase has been around for literally hundreds of years. But it wasn't actually true. It is true now. Time is money. It's because we live in a society that interprets speed as caring. And we interpret responsiveness as respect. We interpret responsiveness as respect. Not long ago, I got my house painted. And as you do, I got 3 bids. First painter got back to me in 4 hours and said, Jay, I obviously can't paint it today. I can't even tell you exactly what it's gonna cost. But based on your voicemail, here's kind of sort of what I think it might cost, and here's approximately when I can do the job. Cool. Second painter got back to me in 2 days. Third painter got back to me in 11 days. At which point, my house had already been painted. I hired the first one, not the least expensive. In fact, the most expensive. But it didn't matter because we interpret responsiveness as respect. Plexus, this is your time to win. And when I say that, what I mean is that if you understand the principles we'll talk about here on how to use responsiveness to create revenue, you will outperform. You will rank up. You will get to see this incredible whale coat in Alaska. 51% of customers, including me when I looked for a painter, 51% will hire whomever contacts them first, regardless of price. Think about that. If you know this to be true, that more than half of everybody will hire whomever contacts them first, why don't we engineer our businesses to always be first, to always be faster, to always understand that speed equals caring? Everybody, parents, students, you, your friends, your relatives, everybody is up to here with hassles and obstacles. We just want something to be easy. And part of that is that we care about experiences more than ever. We care about experiences and whether it's good or bad, whether it's easy or hard, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Everything about the experience has taken on greater value. And this started before the pandemic, and certainly the pandemic accelerated this transition towards experience as a differentiator. But the thing about experiences that we have to understand is that they are never inherently good or bad. There is no such thing as an inherently positive or negative experience. Experiences are always dictated by what I call the expectation equation. And the expectation equation goes like this. Customer experience which I'll say a lot today, but take that to mean parent experience, student experience, peer experience, etc. Customer experience is simply this. It's the difference between what stakeholders think will happen and what actually happens. It's just the difference between what we expect and what actually occurs. Here's how I know this to be true. If you buy a sweater on Amazon and you expect that sweater to arrive in 2 days, and it actually arrives in 4 because there was some kind of UPS issue, you're angry. Nothing has changed. It's the same sweater at the same price. It's just the expectation versus reality equation got disrupted. And expectations are so important to set in every industry. This is one of the challenges that I think you have today. Parents, especially young parents, don't actually know what to expect of you. They don't know what to expect in terms of responsiveness, in terms of metrics, in terms of satisfaction. They demand more, but what's that based on? Just the fact that they demand more? Especially coming out of the pandemic, everybody's expectations have been completely scrambled. I mean, I'm sure many of you have experienced this in the last, say, 18 months. You go to a hotel, you have no idea what the deal is anymore. Is there housekeeping? Is there not? Is it day-to-day? Do I have to ask somebody? Is there room service? Is there not? Does the shower work? Is the soap bolted to the wall? Do I get to keep soaps? Like, it's a whole thing, man. Like, I'm a pretty old dude. Like, I thought I knew how hotels worked, but now I don't know how hotels work. And so we have to do what we can to set expectations. This photograph is Pal's Sudden Service. Some of you may know them. They're based in Tennessee. They're a chain of about 130 fast food restaurants. You can tell it's fast food because it's called Sudden Service. This is an actual building, so they definitely differentiate with the enormous hot dog on the building, which is a little freaky, frankly. Thank you. Like that? Thank you. I'll be here all day. So here's the thing about PALs and setting expectations. If you call your business Sudden Service, you are giving your customers a cue as to what to expect in the area of responsiveness, are you not? But they can actually back it up. The average length of time it takes to get a drive-through order at PALs, and this is the entirety of the drive-through process, right? So you drive up and you talk into the speaker, and then you keep driving, and then they hand you the food out the window. That whole process, on average, 28 seconds. Now, for context, number 2 in the US is Taco Bell, 222 seconds. So they are 8 times faster than second place. They set that expectation. Conversely, raise your hand if you've ever been to a cheesecake factory. Almost every, wow. Okay, NHA loves Cheesecake Factory, good to know. Important data point for later. This is the actual menu of the Cheesecake Factory. I had to make a video for time. This is an actual tweet. Maybe you guys should do this as a lesson plan. I feel like that's got real curriculum potential. It's not untrue. I did a case study on Cheesecake Factory for a book I once wrote, and it turns out they make chicken 63 different ways. Chickens can't even make chicken 63 different ways. They're just making things up. And can you imagine a worse place to be a server? You guys ready to order? No. We are not close to being ready to order. It's going to be a while. You should go on break. Go in the parking lot and vape. We have so much time. So much time. Nobody ever goes to Cheesecake Factory like before the choir concert or before the ball game or before your kids play. You're never going to make it. Here's the full agenda when you go to the Cheesecake Factory. This is the night's agenda. You ready? 1, Cheesecake Factory. 2, bed. That's it. That's all you can fit in. Pal's Sudden Service and Cheesecake Factory are very successful businesses, but they set expectations very, very differently. And we'll talk about that here today. The thing about expectations, though, is that they never move backwards, ever. This is just the march of time, the march of customer entitlement. I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I've never heard a customer, a parent, a student, I've never heard anybody say, you know, it would be okay if you did that slower and worse. All right? Nobody ever says that. This is the great challenge that you have. It doesn't matter how good you are, they want you to be better. Experience has no destination. It is an escalator that just keeps turning over and turning over and turning over. And a lot of industries across this country really struggle with this fact, that you're never done with your customer satisfaction and customer service journey. And in fact, the American Customer Service Index, the ACSI, which measures customer satisfaction across the totality of the economy, so car dealers, restaurants, medicine, cable television, the whole deal, the ACSI is the lowest it's been in 17 years. So despite the, billions of dollars we spent on customer service initiatives in the last decade, it's worse than ever. This, however, is a tremendous opportunity for NHA. This is a tremendous opportunity to outperform other educational groups in this very critical arena. But even here, I think we all acknowledge that improvements can be made. Net Promoter Score for NHA is down 41% in the last decade. Now, some of that is changing expectations. Some of that is parents not knowing what is a realistic expectation. But some of it is naturally, as organizations grow and expand, sometimes it's harder to maintain that level of service excellence across the board. And as your own data has proven, this is an existential question. Dissatisfied parents are almost 5 times more likely to leave than satisfied parents. Of course they are. If not for dissatisfaction, why would you ever leave unless you relocate? You would never want to do that. So we have to find a way to meet these escalating expectations and do it in a way that parents notice it, talk about it, and actually feel it. Now, some of you are thinking, Jay, sure, I believe you, but this doesn't really apply to me. This doesn't apply to our school, because in our school, we get almost no complaints. We hardly ever get complaints from parents. It doesn't matter. For every 100 dissatisfied customers, only 5 will complain. 5 out of 100. The other 45, or 95 I should say, just disappear. They just leave. They just stop giving you money. The people who complain are not the problem. It's the people who are dissatisfied and disappear. That's the problem. And they are largely invisible. In fact, it's opposite of how we typically think. A willingness to complain is actually a positive indicator of engagement, not a negative. We often think that people who complain and have a problem and lodge some sort of issue are malingerers or they're just impossible to please. And in fact, it's the opposite. People who are willing to use their time to tell us that there's something that they think we can do differently actually care enough to use their time to do so. My friend Aaron Pepper used to be the head of guest relations at a business called La Pan Quotidienne. Some of you may know this brand. They're based in Brussels, Belgium, actually. At their peak, they had 425, I think, cafes across the world, major cities, in particular New York, LA. There's one in Indianapolis, near where I'm from. And when she started at Le Pont Quotidien, it was her first day, big staff meeting, boardroom, walnut table. And she said, before we can start the meeting, would it be okay if I told you my plan? And the CEO was kind of taken aback. Well, Erin, you just started today. You already have a plan? Yeah, can I tell you the plan? By all means. My plan is that we will triple the number of complaints that we get. And the CEO said, who hired Erin? I was like very confused by that plan. She said, no, hear me out. We're a good business, right? Oh, yes, we are very good. We run a great chain of bakeries and cafes. Oh, absolutely, yes. We may be the best in the industry. Yes, that's true. But we're not perfect. And the only way we're going to be able to continue to meet escalating customer expectations is if we discover and act upon the things that trouble our customers that maybe we don't even know about. So what she did was she embraced feedback. Didn't just tolerate it, embraced it. And across all of their restaurants, put in several nudges for feedback. So tents, little table tents on the tables in the restaurant, signage in the restrooms, social media, email, a whole thing. And in each of these little nudges, it would say something like, here at Le Pont Quotidien, we want to be the best chain of bakeries and cafes in the world, but we need your help to get there. You can text us, you can call us, you can send us an email, you can send a hostage note, whatever you like. Just please let us know how your experience was today. So they got a lot of feedback. In fact, they got 3 times more complaints, just as she predicted. They analyzed those complaints and discovered that there are a lot of things that customers had challenges with that they didn't even know about, and they fixed those things, and all the complaints went away. See, what Erin understood that we all need to understand is that to get fewer complaints, we first must get more complaints. Somebody willing to express feedback, positive or negative, is truly a gift. And we've talked about expectations already this morning, and this is a tricky situation for NHA. Because as we heard earlier from Nick in the new Credo data, you're already viewed as among the best, if not the best, charter school organization in this country. But we expect the most of the best. If you buy a Mercedes, you have a different customer experience expectation than if you buy a Hyundai. You just do. We expect the most of the best. So if we want to position NHA as the best, and I think we all agree that we do, what comes with that is the burden of expectations. So what I want to introduce to you today is the principle of the coveted customer experience. This is the standard that we want to try and meet at all times across the totality of the organization. The coveted customer experience. The coveted customer experience exceeds parent expectations so much that perfection is not required. Now, let's think about that for a second. You exceed expectations so much that perfection is not required. Because as somebody who grew up in a household of educators, I know how hard what you do is. And it doesn't matter how good you and your teams are, perfection is never going to occur. It is literally impossible in education. So to say be perfect is ridiculous advice. It makes much more sense to say, let's exceed expectations so much that when we're not perfect, it's okay. What the coveted customer experience will buy you is, in my estimation, the most important thing you can possess in your role. The coveted customer experience buys you the benefit of the doubt. And for parents who were thinking, I didn't like the way that went down, maybe we should look elsewhere. If you can build that well of goodwill using the coveted customer experience, it will materially impact retention, growth, and overall customer service inside your individual school.